Chapter 1. The Discovery That Shook Physics. Scientists looked deep inside a uranium atom, and what they found may challenge one of the most trusted ideas in modern physics. For decades, physicists believed they understood how the center of an atom behaves. The nucleus was supposed to follow a model that had been tested, repeated, and trusted for generations. But uranium-238 did something unexpected. It did not behave like the textbooks said it should. The strange signal was not random noise. It was not a simple mistake. It appeared in carefully measured nuclear energy levels, and it pointed toward something far more mysterious: geometry. Not geometry drawn on a chalkboard, geometry inside matter itself. At the heart of one of the heaviest naturally occurring atoms on Earth, scientists found evidence that protons and neutrons may organize themselves into a precise three-dimensional structure, a structure connected to tetrahedral symmetry. And if that is true, then the nucleus is not just a tiny ball of particles, it may be a quantum structure with hidden order. That changes how we think about atoms. It changes how we think about matter. And eventually, it may even change how we think about ourselves. Because every cell in your body, every breath you take, every star in the sky, and every object you have ever touched is made of atoms. And inside those atoms, the deepest architecture of reality may be more organized than we ever imagined. Chapter 2. The Model Physics Trusted. To understand why this matters, we need to go back to the nuclear shell model. In 1949, physicist Maria Goeppert Mayer helped explain one of the biggest puzzles in nuclear science. Scientists had noticed that some atomic nuclei were unusually stable. Certain numbers of protons or neutrons seemed to make nuclei much harder to break apart. These special numbers became known as magic numbers: 2, 8, 20, 28, 50, 82, and 126. When a nucleus had one of these numbers of protons or neutrons, it behaved as if an internal shell had been completed. Like electrons arranged in shells around an atom, protons and neutrons appeared to organize into levels inside the nucleus. This idea became the nuclear shell model, and it worked extremely well. It explained stability patterns across the periodic table. It helped scientists understand radioactive decay. It became essential to nuclear physics, nuclear medicine, reactor science, and astrophysics. For decades, this model stood strong. It was not perfect, but it was powerful. Then uranium-238 created a problem. Uranium-238 has 92 protons and 146 neutrons. Neither number is magic. According to the traditional picture, that means uranium's nucleus should be relatively soft and deformable. The particles inside should move collectively. The nucleus should respond in a certain predictable way when excited. But when scientists measured it, the nucleus did not respond as expected. It appeared more rigid, more organized, more structured. Something inside uranium was holding together in a way the shell model alone could not fully explain. Chapter 3. The nucleus rang wrong. Imagine tapping a glass and listening to the sound it makes. A thin glass rings differently from a thick glass. A cracked glass rings differently from a perfect one. The sound tells you something about the structure. Nuclear spectroscopy works in a similar spirit. Scientists excite a nucleus and measure the energy levels it produces. Those energy levels reveal how the nucleus is shaped, how it moves, and how its internal particles behave. When researchers studied uranium-238, the expected pattern did not appear. Instead of behaving like a soft, highly collective nucleus, uranium showed signs of unexpected stiffness and symmetry. The nucleus seemed to be arranged in a more ordered way. That order pointed toward tetrahedral symmetry. A tetrahedron is a simple but powerful shape. It has 4 triangular faces. It is one of the 5 Platonic solids. Every face, edge, and angle follows a precise mathematical pattern. The strange possibility is this: inside the uranium nucleus, protons and neutrons may be organizing into a tetrahedral pattern, not permanently like a stone pyramid, not visibly like a crystal you can hold, but as a quantum configuration, a hidden geometry inside the atom. Chapter 4. Why tetrahedral symmetry matters. For years, some nuclear physicists had predicted that certain nuclei might show tetrahedral symmetry. The idea was not that the shell model was completely wrong. The idea was that it was incomplete. The shell model explains a lot, but it may not explain everything. If nucleons can arrange themselves into geometric patterns, then the nucleus is not just a collection of particles filling energy levels. It is also a self-organizing system. That is the part that matters, because self-organization is one of the deepest themes in science. A single water molecule is not wet, but many water molecules together create wetness. A single neuron is not conscious, but billions of neurons together create experience. A single ant does not understand architecture, but a colony can build complex systems. In each case, something new appears when many simple parts interact. This is called emergence. And uranium may be showing us emergence at the nuclear level. Matter may not simply exist. Matter may organize. Chapter 5. The marble at the center of reality. Look at your hand. That hand feels solid, but it is made of atoms. Those atoms are mostly empty space. If an atom were expanded to the size of a stadium, the nucleus would be like a tiny marble at the center. Almost all the mass is in that marble. Everything you touch, everything you hold, every surface you walk on, every person you love, depends on what happens inside that tiny center. For a long time, science treated the nucleus as something we understood fairly well. But now that tiny marble may be revealing a hidden architecture. The center of matter may not be simple. It may be structured. It may be geometric. It may be far stranger than the ordinary world suggests. Chapter 6. The bigger question. If uranium were the only case, this would still be fascinating. But if tetrahedral symmetry appears in other nuclei, then the implications become much larger. It would mean that nuclear structure has an additional layer of organization. That could affect our understanding of radioactive decay, nuclear stability, element formation, and the way stars build matter. The stars are important here. The atoms in your body were forged in stars. The carbon in your DNA, the oxygen in your blood, and the calcium in your bones all came from cosmic processes that depend on nuclear physics. So this is not just about uranium. It is about the story of matter itself. If nuclei can self-organize into elegant geometric forms, then the universe has been building structure from the inside out since the beginning. Particles became nuclei. Nuclei became atoms. Atoms became molecules. Molecules became cells. Cells became brains. Brains became consciousness. And now consciousness is looking back into the atom, asking what it really is. Chapter 7. Emergence. Inside matter. Emergence is not magic. It is not spiritual language. It is a real scientific concept. It means that when parts interact, new properties can appear at a higher level. No single molecule is alive, but enough molecules arranged in the right way can become a cell. No single neuron has a thought, but enough neurons connected in the right way can create a mind. And perhaps no single proton or neutron contains geometry by itself. But many nucleons interacting inside a nucleus may create geometric symmetry. That is the astonishing idea. Order may not need to be imposed from outside. It may arise naturally. The universe may have a built-in tendency to create structure when energy, matter, and time interact under the right conditions. That does not answer every question, but it makes one question impossible to ignore. Why does matter organize at all? Chapter 8. Why something exists instead of nothing. The philosopher Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz once asked one of the most famous questions in philosophy. Why is there something rather than nothing? Physics can describe the universe with extraordinary precision. It can describe galaxies, quantum fields, black holes, particles, radiation, and the early universe. But physics struggles with the deeper question. Why is there a universe at all? Why are there laws? Why is there matter for those laws to govern? And now uranium adds a sharper version of that question. Not only why does matter exist, but why does matter form patterns? Why does it organize? Why does structure appear instead of pure chaos? Why do atoms form stable arrangements? Why do proteins fold? Why do galaxies spiral? Why does life emerge? Why does a brain eventually ask these questions? Chapter 9: Entropy and the Strange Rise of Order. This seems even stranger because of the second law of thermodynamics. The second law says entropy increases in a closed system. In simple terms, disorder tends to grow over time. A broken glass does not reassemble itself. Cream mixed into coffee does not separate on its own. Energy spreads out, systems run down, order breaks apart. So why is the universe full of structure? Why are there stars, planets, crystals, hurricanes, DNA, cells, and minds? The answer is that local order can form when energy flows through a system. A hurricane is ordered, but it forms by taking heat from the ocean and releasing energy into the environment. A living cell maintains order by consuming energy and producing waste heat. Life does not violate entropy. It uses energy flow to create temporary islands of order. This is the field of non-equilibrium thermodynamics. And some scientists argue that self-organization may be a natural result of matter exposed to energy. Matter may tend to arrange itself in ways that absorb, transform, and dissipate energy more effectively. If that is true, then life may not be a cosmic accident. Life may be one of the ways matter organizes under the right conditions. Chapter 10: From Uranium to You. This is where the uranium discovery becomes deeply personal. If protons and neutrons can organize into geometric symmetry inside a nucleus, and if molecules can organize into life, and if neurons can organize into consciousness, then perhaps these are not separate miracles. Perhaps they are different expressions of the same principle. Matter organizes. At small scales, it forms nuclear geometry. At chemical scales, it forms molecules. At biological scales, it forms life. At neural scales, it forms experience. You are not separate from this process. You are made of it. The atoms in your body were created in stars. Those atoms formed molecules. Those molecules became cells. Those cells became a nervous system. And that nervous system became aware enough to wonder where it came from. In that sense, you are not simply inside the universe. You are the universe organized into a form that can observe itself. That may sound poetic, but it is also physically true. You are made of matter. And matter, at every scale we study, seems capable of forming structure. Chapter 11: What Physics Still Cannot Answer. The discovery does not prove that the universe has a purpose. It does not prove consciousness is built into every particle. It does not prove ancient mystical ideas. But it does show something powerful. The deeper we look into matter, the less random it appears. The nucleus is not just a chaotic lump. It may contain hidden symmetry. Matter does not merely scatter. It forms, it resonates, it organizes. And the more we understand that organization, the more we realize that our old models may only be partial maps. The shell model was not useless. It was brilliant. It still explains a tremendous amount. But uranium suggests there may be another layer, a geometric layer, a self-organizing layer, a deeper architecture inside the atom. Chapter 12: The Final Thought. At the beginning, we asked what scientists found inside uranium. The answer is this. They found signs that uranium-238 may contain a form of tetrahedral nuclear symmetry, a hidden geometric organization that the traditional shell model does not fully predict. Then we asked why this matters beyond uranium. The answer is that if this kind of symmetry is part of nuclear structure more broadly, then our understanding of matter may need revision. Nuclear medicine, nuclear energy, astrophysics, and our models of element formation may all be affected. Finally, we asked the question physics cannot yet answer. Why does matter organize? Why structure instead of noise? Why pattern instead of pure chaos? Why does the universe build atoms, stars, cells, and minds? That question begins inside uranium. But it does not end there. It ends in your hand, in your body, in your thoughts, in the strange fact that matter became aware enough to study itself. So the next time you look at your hand, remember this. It is not just flesh and bone. It is atoms. It is star matter. It is structure built from structure. And deep inside that structure, in the almost nothing at the center of matter, physics may have found a hidden geometry that changes everything. If matter has a natural tendency to organize itself, from uranium to life to consciousness, does that make you feel more connected to the universe or more alone in it? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this video changed the way you see reality, subscribe for the next one.